Since a young age, I've always been active. Growing up, it was soccer, basketball, and summers on the swim team. It was fun, but it never really challenged me mentally. That is, until I somehow ended up joining the rowing team in high school. I was skeptical going in, and I wouldn't say I was exactly tough, but let me tell you, rowing quickly humbles you. It is brutal. Ice cold practices in February, numb feet, frozen hands, and blisters. God, the blisters never ended. 4 years of that forces you to become someone who you weren't before. And by the time it was over, I felt addicted to the pain. So I bought a bike, and instead of partying hard or joining a frat in college, I cycled everywhere, exploring and attacking those Pittsburgh hills, which, man, they are different. Shortly after that, I learned what this Ironman thing was. And I knew right then, at some point in my life, I was going to have to face this beast. And 8 years later, that time is now. But over the last couple of years, my relationship with food and health has changed. I got deeply curious about where our food actually comes from and how heavily processed the average diet has become, which brought me to a massive contradiction when wanting to do this triathlon. We train for these peak expressions of human health, yet we fuel them entirely on engineered products with ingredients we can't even pronounce. So I decided to run an experiment on myself. Train for a full Ironman, consuming only natural foods. I want to see if the human body can take on one of the hardest endurance events out there on what grows straight from the earth. Which brings us to today. I haven't posted here in a while, and that's because I've been deep in the trenches testing this protocol. And right now, this weekend, I have a half Ironman coming up. This isn't a full, but it's a great opportunity to see if this real food strategy actually holds up under race conditions. So let me show you exactly how I'm doing this. So here we are, just a couple days out from Ironman Eagleman 70.3 down in Cambridge, Maryland. I want to walk through my race prep as well as my journey down there, and then we'll do a little recap at the end of this video. So by the time you're watching this, I would have hopefully already completed the race. So I've been at the training for just over 6 months now, and I've had maybe 3 days off in total. It's been a ton of training, but I do feel actually really good. And I think that's because I've taken my recovery and fueling really seriously. Now, back when I decided to sign up for the Ironmans, I knew I'd have to consume a shitload of carbs. And that got me thinking, how could I approach this with a health-first mindset? There's got to be healthy sources of carbs. So when you think of nutrition and these crazy endurance sports, you think of gels, electrolyte mixes, recovery formulas, all these big brand products. Well, it turns out about 99% of them are full of all of these processed ingredients. So I knew that I wouldn't be able to rely on any of that. So I took matters into my own hands and did extensive research on how I could fuel my workouts with natural carb sources. So my best friends over the last 6 months have been things like maple syrup, honey, dates, figs, rice, oats, things like that. I've also been making my own homemade gels, which have been a huge hit on social media. I make most every meal from scratch. I consume about 90 to 95% single ingredient foods. I've cut out seed oils at home. I've ditched alcohol completely. Now, I will go out to dinner every once in a while, and I realize you can't eat completely clean there, so you have to find a little bit of balance in life. It is okay. But overall, it's been a massive success thus far. I got to put it to the test this weekend, though. Every ride, run, and swim has been fueled with 100% real food. But now the question becomes, how does this translate over to a race scenario? How am I going to fuel this without any of the provided on-course nutrition? So I'm getting ready to pack up all my stuff. Let me show you how I'm planning on doing this. All right, here's the plan for the half Ironman. Keep in mind, I'm not relying on any of the on-course nutrition. So I'm aiming for 100 grams of carbs per hour on the bike and then about 65 grams of carbs per hour on the run. So I'm bringing 4 homemade mango gels. These are each 30 grams of carbs and 500 milligrams of sodium. I've got 2 homemade organic rice cakes, and then my bottles and soft flask for the run. So the plan is to get up early, eat a bunch of carbs, get in the water, get out of the water, onto the bike, and then the first couple minutes, we'll consume a gel. We'll keep going, and then throughout the 2-hour, 40-minute-ish ride, I've got my bottles, which will each have 90 grams of carbs and 1,500 milligrams of sodium. For the carbs, that'll be a mix of maple syrup and grape juice, and then for the sodium, I just have sodium citrate. I might throw some potassium in there as well. And then I'll eat the rice cakes evenly spread out in the ride. And then towards the end of the ride, we'll throw down another gel. So here's how I'm packing it on my bike. So it's pretty simple for getting this all on my bike. I only have 2 gels and 2 rice cakes. So these gels will just go into this top tube bag on my bike. They fit very easily in there. And then the rice cakes I'll just toss in the back of my tri-suit. And then my plan is to grab the water bottles, and I'll just hold the bottles right here, kind of in between my 2 arms, which I've done throughout training as well with these bottles. Pretty simple. Then we'll get back to the transition area. I'm grabbing 2 gels for the run, as well as my 500 milliliter soft flask. In the flask will be 50 grams of carbs, as well as 2,000 milligrams of sodium. So I'll take sips of this periodically throughout the run, and then I'll be drinking water at pretty much every aid station because it's supposed to be hot and humid. And then we'll evenly space out these gels, maybe at like 30 minutes and an hour, I'd say. So that's the plan. So in addition to getting all my stuff ready to go today, I also have to eat so much food. I'm targeting like 600 to 700 grams of carbs throughout the day. Here's lunch, just a big plate of rice with pulled chicken and zucchini. Simple and effective. Just a lot of eating today. So Saturday I packed everything up, headed down to Cambridge, got to the Ironman Village and checked in, which took forever, but finally racked my bike and was ready to go. Okay, it was the night before. I'm actually camping tonight down here in Cambridge. Got the camper back out, first time since the last video when I broke down. Just finished up eating dinner, the final meal of this carb load. It has been so hot today. I think it was like 88 degrees and bright sun. So standing in line, waiting to check in at the Ironman Village was not easy. And then to add to it, I don't have AC in my car either, so that's fun. But I was drinking coconut water all day, so I do feel pretty hydrated. And I have air conditioning tonight. Let me show you real quick here. Look at that thing, big unit. So we're gonna be nice and cool tonight. So with that being said, I'm about as prepared as I possibly can be. Gonna get to bed early tonight and rest up. And then I got my mom filming with my camera tomorrow, so hopefully she'll be able to grab some shots of all that's going on. But we will hopefully see you at the finish, and if not then, I'll do a little recap video once I get back home.
Awesome, have a great race.
I know that's what you're running for. I could tell. Huh?
Barely.
Huh? I know. Oh, it must have been so hot.
All right, we're back. Made it through my first half Ironman. We'll do a little race recap, but everything went about as well as I could have hoped for. So to start out, I don't know if anyone from Ironman will ever see this, but if you do, there were way too many people competing in this event. In the morning, the parking was a disaster. Getting from the school to the start area took well over an hour, which is crazy to me. So I didn't wind up getting to my stuff until after the race started, but I just took my time. I didn't rush, got all my gear set up and went over to the swim start. Got in the water and it was just kind of chaos from the very beginning. I was swimming over top of people nonstop, and especially going around the turn buoys, it was just kind of like people piling on top of each other. But I did hold a pretty good pace. I finished in 35 minutes, which is right around where I thought I'd be. So I was pretty happy getting out of the water. Ran over to my stuff, had a pretty smooth transition onto the bike. Heart rate was high, but I expected that. And those first 10 to 20 miles were so much fun. It was so fast. There was no wind. I was passing so many people. I just felt amazing. and my heart rate was coming down as I picked up speed somehow. I stuck to my nutrition plan throughout the whole ride and felt great. The only thing I'll say is they tell you there's aid stations every 10 miles, when in reality it was an aid station every like 18 miles. There were only 3 on the bike, and I was expecting 4 or 5. So that was pretty disappointing, but it did work out for me. It wasn't too hot on the bike. And then got back to the transition area, switched over to my run stuff pretty smoothly, and immediately starting on the run, I knew it was going to be a long day out. It was so ridiculously hot, and there was pretty much no shade throughout the entire 13 miles. So I felt good at the start. My heart rate was pretty normal, and I was able to get into a bit of a rhythm, which didn't really last long because it just got so hard so quick. I was stopping at every aid station and throwing ice down the back of my tri-suit, putting it in the ice pocket, putting ice in my headband, throwing ice down the front of my shirt. People had like sprinklers in their front yards that I was just running through. I didn't even care. I was doing everything I could to stay cool. The one thing that helped the most was after the aid stations, like going through, I would hold the ice in my hands and alternate until it melted. Which really helped give me a boost after each aid station. So I saw that on a TikTok video or something, and it really did work. But again, there's only so much you can do when it's 90 degrees and humid. I passed some people performing CPR on someone, so that was pretty scary. But I stuck with my nutrition plan, and it went pretty good for the most part. The gels tasted all right. The mixture in my soft flask was terrible, but it did work. I had a lot of sodium in it, and I needed it. If I didn't put as much sodium in there, I don't know if I would have made it in the time that I did. So I finished the whole thing in 4 hours and 59 minutes, which I thought it would take a miracle to get under sub 5, and I was able to somehow do it. I think it was thanks to the bike ride. So I'm really pleased with how it all went. I really don't think I could have asked for a better first race. Nothing went wrong, which probably isn't normal, but I will say I was very prepared. I went through everything in my head so many different times, and I think it helped quite a lot. So this is proof that natural fueling can be effective in pretty extreme conditions. Obviously, it's not a full Ironman. I still have to do that and figure out a plan for that race, but this was 5 hours of pretty hard endurance in really brutal heat. So I can't believe everything held up as well as it did. At the end of the day, it was just mind over matter, especially on the run. But the fueling worked. I had the necessary carbs and the necessary electrolytes in me to keep going, even when it got so hard. So that's just a little recap. If you raced Eagleman, let me know your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your point of view, especially on that run. But hopefully you're able to take something away from this video and see how I go about fueling all of my endurance workouts and races the natural way. So I'll have more coming in the lead up to Ironman Maryland, which is September 19th. We'll be right back in Cambridge to go through probably even more hell. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next video.